This is probably one of my favorite arcs in the Rurouni Kenshin storyline. Matter of fact, this is actually the favorite for me. And one of my favorite anime arcs of all time. And I was actually really intrigued to see it get revealed on the big screen in the new Rurouni Kenshin 2 movie, Kyoto Inferno, which I guess is not new. It came out in 2014, but it was the second installment of the series. I was super excited to see, Miss Masao and see Anji and see, Saito and Shishio on the big screen. And this movie disappointed? No. I was actually really intrigued. But as a fan of the anime, I had to push that aside because this is a solid movie if you've never seen the anime. And on this episode Movie Breakdowns, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What movie breakdown? Movie review series. We look at new and old movie. Give them a grade, A through plus and minus through count. And if it's a movie you review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to it as best I can. Also, Patreon/Ali Zakka, and on Patreon for $2 a month, you get cut in front of everybody to review out way before it comes out on Facebook and YouTube, and you get trade reaction, trade reviews, and much more content. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of 2014's Rurouni Kenshin 2 Kyoto Inferno. And one thing before I jump into this, I have been doing a good job ever since Iron Man 3 to separate my fandom from the movies. Now, sometimes my reviews do, like my fandom does show, and it really does. But I try to do a good job of separating the two, where I can watch it as a fan and watch it as a critic. Supplicating critic, whatever. But you know what I mean. And with this, I was trying to watch it as, just a regular person who never seen Rurouni Kenshin, who probably had no recollection of it. But the problem was, the anime did such a good job of fleshing stuff out, that this movie, when it had certain scenes happen, it was kind of like, I feel like that was kind of rushed. And I get it. The anime is, multiple episodes over, weeks and months to show, versus a movie that has, 2 hours to really portray it, which I believe this movie was 2 hours and 18 minutes. So 2 hours and 18 minutes to portray, 30 something episodes on the big screen, which I believe is like 36 episodes for season 2, which is what this movie is based off of. But this is part 1, technically, of the Shishio saga, and movie 3 is the continuation of it. So I was under the impression watching this that we'll get more fleshed out storylines for characters like Masao and for characters like Sanosuke Sagara or Saito. And we do and we don't. Matter of fact, Sanosuke Sagara, Masao, and Saito really get pushed aside in this movie, and it's just more focused on, Kenshin and Shishio. Now, the movie does a better job of adding Miss Kaoru into it and showing Miss Kaoru is a vital piece of Kenshin's life, but really, it's not. The 3 pieces that you see in the anime or in the manga are not even really portrayed on the big screen for this movie. Now, what is Rurouni Kenshin 2 Kyoto Inferno about? Well, one of the government's hidden past figures comes back to take over Japan. Shishio, who was burnt alive by the government, comes back to power, and he's trying to now take over Japan, and it's up to Kenshin to stop him. But he has to figure out, can he do it as a wanderer, or does he have to revert back to his manslayer days in order to save Japan from Shishio? That is pretty much this movie. And this is part one, so we don't get the conclusion of it. We get pretty much the setup for everything. Kenshin telling Miss Kaoru that like, hey, go back to Kyoto. And she's like, no, don't you do that. You're a wanderer now. He's like, I'm always gonna be a wanderer. Like, you get those set pieces, those moments. And you get the moments with, well, Aoshi Shinomori appears in this movie. And he's there in the anime as well, but the scenes that he appeared in the movie are different from that of the anime. So watching this movie as somebody who have never seen the anime before, if I just took myself out of the anime and be like, all right, let's go ahead and watch this, see how it is, first blank slate, you're going to get characters that appear, you'd be like, should I know this person? Should I care about this person? Okay, this dude just showed up and beat up Shinosuke Sagara and then dipped. Oh, there's a girl who showed up to help out who stole Kenshin's sword, but now they're helping this little boy out in this village. Okay. Oh, the old man is fighting, the Aoya is fighting Aoshi. Should I care about that? There's like not really enough character building in this first half of this series, of this movie here, to really make you feel like characters are warranted to worry about. Like, Saito shows up to begin the movie, and I was like, okay, we got a different twist. Saito's fighting Shishio, and then disappears. For majority of the movie, then shows up at the end, and you're like, where did you come from? How did you get out of that situation with Shishio? You just appeared. Okay, sure, we're gonna just deal with this. But you also get cool moments where like Kenshin's fighting, what's his name? I want to call him Sojiro. He's fighting Sojiro. I'm gonna call him Tanjiro for some reason, but he's fighting Sojiro, and the sword breaks. That's a very big moment because it brings him to a draw, and Sojiro doesn't get to finish Kenshin off, but Kenshin has to get a whole new sword made, which is a big deal because he vowed to never kill again, so he needed another reverse blade sword, and the one guy who could make it for him, you know, he gave up sword fight, or he gave up creating swords. So Kenshin has to convince him of making a sword for him, but at the same time fight off a guy named Cho, who is a sword hunter, and he pretty much takes the swordsman's son as hostage to find the last sword that's probably the most powerful sword, or one of the strongest or most famous swords, not strongest but powerful, but famous swords of Japan. And Kenshin has to choose whether or not to use it to defeat Cho, who is going to try to kill the kid. So it's a lot of good pieces here that you see in the anime. So but if you never watched the anime and watch this movie, you're going to be missing out like on Masao or Saito and Shinosuke Sagara. Those three characters who are vital to the second half here, or to this arc, are not really fleshed out. And I guess that's part of my dislike in this, but also like as a like, it does make the story focus more on Kenshin and this him getting from Tokyo to Kyoto to try to stop Shishio. And then you have this grand event that happens in the movie where Kenshin goes after Shishio on a giant ship, and Miss Kaoru gets kidnapped, and Kenshin got to save Miss Kaoru, which was like, okay, at least we got something that, as somebody who like watching movies and like storytelling, can get attached to. Kenshin like Kaoru, Kaoru likes Kenshin. Kaoru gets kidnapped, Dan's in distress, Kenshin goes save Kaoru. Alright, this is something we can get behind. But Shinosuke Sagara, why is he here? I have not figured that out yet. Like, the first movie he shows up there, the second movie, he doesn't really need to be there. And he does get written out for majority of the movie. Masao appearing. Sure, if you watch the anime, you'd be like, oh, Masao's there. But, like, she doesn't really belong in this movie. She's not really a big piece of the movie at all. So when Aoshi shows up and Aoshi defeats the old man, Masao's like, oh, Aoshi. But, like, she never really talked about how great Aoshi is to her and how she liked all the things in the anime. She sit there and talks about the great things about Aoshi, and that really makes Kenshin like, I gotta be away from you. You are trouble. But in this movie, he finds out from the old guy, and the old man's like, yeah, so Aoshi's looking for you because he wants to become the best. And for the most part, dude gives the movie credit. The characters all look the same. Like, you know who Aoshi is when you see him. But also, if you watch the anime, you know who Aoshi is. You watch this movie. So if you've never seen the anime and Aoshi appears on screen, you'd be like, I don't know who that is. But okay, now I'm getting a little backstory on him. Okay, I get it, why I should care. Cool beans. Now, him looking for, Kenshin and fighting the Aoya for hosting Kenshin is not really warranted. Like, his attack on, Akina, that's his name. Akina wasn't really warranted in the movie. He was like, oh, you're hosting Kenshin here, you didn't let me know, I'm gonna beat you. And it's like, why? That doesn't make any sense. He could have just left his teammate alone and went after Kenshin. It wasn't like Aoshi sided with Shishio yet, which he does in the anime up to this point. So there is some writing flaws in this movie that make you care about certain characters that they don't really put emphasis on. But the other stuff that I really loved about this movie that I thought was pretty cool was the practical effects, the character design, the lighting, and the action pieces and the setup and how everything looks. The movie looks like a great movie. It's made in 2014. It looks pretty solid. Like, it's detailed and colored and set just perfect, so you know where characters are, you know where things are in relation to others. Like, it's definitely set up nice, and it looks amazing to see. Like, you know where everything's going on here. Like, man, this looks like some good camera work here. Practical effects, Kenshin moving around, taking out, 60 guys and taking out 40 guys and fighting all these people. Like, it looks good. I like how the little camera tricks where they move the camera just a little fast or speed up the fight scenes just a little much to show how fast Kenshin can move. I like that stuff. The action pieces in this movie are solid. They are really solid, and nothing about that bothers me. Like, I think it's really great. And then the music, like, this movie has its own OST, its own soundtrack, and I actually hear the tunes and themes from the first movie and this movie where I'm like, okay, cool. I'm curious to see how this movie flows out. I think my biggest disappointment by this movie was just, I thought they would have more time to elaborate on characters, with this being part 1 and part 2 of the Shishio saga, and they kind of rush all of the first part of, like, Kenshin getting to Kyoto and Kenshin fighting the village and saving the people from Shishio's men. They kind of just blew past that to the final piece of them stopping Shishio's ship, his battleship, and you're just kind of like, I wish we would have gotten more. So I'm curious what the third movie is going to be like, because this part right here in the anime, they literally just fought Kenshin his lair. And because it didn't really elaborate on, like, Sanosuke Sagara getting to Japan, getting to Kyoto and meeting Anji in the forest, like, they didn't elaborate on that. So, like, I don't know how they're gonna play it out in the third movie when it comes to this, but I feel like they just kind of push everything too quick. But I think the movie is solid. Like, as the acting was good. There are two characters I think that was over the top. Sanosuke Sagara's character, I feel like he was directed to be over the top, and Cho actually matches his anime counterpart. So I don't care about Cho at all. Like, I think his acting was solid, but it was over the top sometimes because Kenshin was more of a laid-back character, and those two next to each other on the screen was almost like, okay, it threw me off for a moment because Cho's walking back and forth, pacing, and yes, throwing his head up to the air, and I'm like, Kenshin's kind of like chill in the background. Like, Cho just looked out of whack in certain scenes, but he's like that in the anime too. He's over the top, flamboyant, in your face. I'm not sure if flamboyant was the word, but he's more in your face, bash kind of character. Versus, I don't think bash is the word either, but I can't think of the word I'm looking for. In your face, bold is the word. Versus in the movie, when you see that portrayed, you're like, okay, a little too much directing for you guy. But Sanosuke Sagara, I still can't figure out why he's in this movie. Like his placement amongst the group doesn't make any sense. Megumi is there, but she stayed around because she was rescued by Kenshin in the first movie, so she's still hanging out around the dojo. But Sanosuke Sagara has no reason to really be in the dojo hanging out with everybody. Yahiko's a student there, so it makes sense. But Sanosuke Sagara, don't know why he's there. Just don't. All right, let's talk about box office. So I'm not sure how much money this movie made, but how much the budget for this movie was, but worldwide it grossed $52 million. The movie is 2 hours and 18 minutes long, and the director here, we have this movie directed by Kishi Otomo, and the writers are Nobuhiro Wasuki, who is the one who wrote the manga, and Sharon Whitley, who did the English version, which I watched this movie in dub. Is not the best dub, so just take that going through with it. It matches for the most part, but it's like you can definitely tell like it's dubbed. And you have Kiyomi Fuji who did the screenplay. I felt like the story is based off the anime, or sorry, based off the manga, so it flows. I think they just, when it comes to writing a movie with 2 hours and 18 minutes long, it's being a part one of a second, and you have a second half, I think they should have fleshed out a little more with Masao and Kenshin on the road to Kyoto, like their journey a little more, and fleshed out Aoshi's journey and how the Obi-Wan group, how they work together, and also flesh out Sanosuke Sagara's wanting to get better. Because we never got to see Sanosuke and Kenshin really bond in the first movie, besides them just going to team up and fighting, Kanyu Takeda, you don't get that whole Sanosuke's trying to prove himself that he's worthy to fight side by side with Kenshin. Like in the movie, he shows up in Kyoto and he's like, I came here to save your butt. And Kenshin's like, ungrateful. Like, okay. Cool beans. The acting, as far as cast here, we have Takeru Saito, who played Kenshin. I thought he did a good job. Once again, I feel like the cast looks like their counterpart, look like the anime and manga counterpart. I think they did a good job with that. You have Emi Taki, who plays Karyu. I think she did a good job. Tatsuya Fujiwara, who played Shishio. I think they got this man down pat. Like, Shishio looks threatening, he looks menacing, he's terrifying in the movie, just like how he is in the anime. I think Shishio was perfect in this movie. Like, oh my gosh, terrifying. I think he was great. You have Yosuke Iguchi, who played Saito. I thought he did good. Just like he was in the first part of the movie and then at the end of the movie. Yusuke Isaya, who played Aoshi. I thought he looked like Aoshi. I thought he was phenomenal as Aoshi. Monetaka Aoki, who played Sanosuke Sagara. I just think they have him, I think the directors have him being over top for no reason. I don't think Sanosuke Sagara should be that over the top. He's not that over the top. And this movie makes him look like he's just a, yeah, fighter, let's go. And the dub version doesn't help. But like the movements and the way he pouts and throws his fists around, like Sanosuke is not that kind of guy, but okay. But as far as the movie version of him go, I think the dude did a good job. Rurouni Kenshin, who played Sojiro, I thought he did a good job as well. And then Tao Tsuchiya, who played Masao, I thought she did a great job. So those characters. Oh, and last but not least, I kind of talked about him, Ryosuke Miura, who played Cho. I thought he did a good job. Like, I think the cast and the acting for the cast and the characters they was portrayed to be, I thought they did phenomenal. I think the movements, their reaction, facial expressions was great. Solid, phenomenal. Like, I think the cast was really done really well. I think the writing for some of the characters, like Sanosuke Sagara, just does not do them justice for Sanosuke. Everybody else I feel like is perfect, but Sanosuke is just like, I can't get why you here. Like, watch this movie, I was like, why are you here? It doesn't make sense. Like, what? I get you're there in the manga and the anime, but why are you in this movie? You don't belong here. And he's pretty much not much in the movie because he doesn't really belong there. He really doesn't. I just can't get it. I just can't get it. Any other thoughts? The music I feel like is solid. I feel like the music is solid in this movie. Some good soundtracks for the movie. The practical effects and the fighting scene and the choreography in this movie is phenomenal. The lighting and set pieces and the tones that follow the movie with certain color schemes, I think is great. The night scene works. The ship scene works with the raining and Shishio and Kenshin confronting each other on the ship. I think that's solid. Like, the look of this movie, I think, looks amazing. The movie does look like a great movie. Like, it's done really well. I freaking love it. The story is just not the strongest piece of the movie for me. I'm sorry. It just doesn't portray well when you don't get to flesh out characters. You just kind of throw people there and like, oh, well, keep moving to the next person. Throw people there. Oh, we keep moving on to the next person. Throw people here. We just keep moving on to the next one. Like, versus let stuff breathe. Especially when you have a 2-part movie like this. I'll keep bringing that up because I'm like, they just didn't let it breathe. But I feel like everything else in the movie was solid. Is this a Friday night movie? I'm gonna say no. It's 2 hours and 18 minutes long. I don't think it's a Friday night movie. It does move a little slow at certain points in time, so everybody who's getting together is like, oh, let's get away and watch this movie. You're gonna be like, kind of tired here, kind of like lose attention here. It's a slower movie. It does move slow and then picks up with some action scenes, but mostly, for the most part, most of the thing I really remember that stand out in my mind is like that last act of this movie. Like the first and second act, not so much, but the last act, yes. First act, I was like trying to get invested with Kaoru and Kenshin, like their tension when Kenshin's like, I gotta leave. Sanosuke Sagara still doesn't make sense why he's here. But that's not Friday Night Movie. Alright, grading time. I'm gonna grade Rurouni Kenshin 2, Kyoto Inferno, a C+. It's a 79% for me. This movie gets a C+ for me because I feel like the acting is solid. I think people are doing a great job. This cast is doing a great job. The action sequences and the choreography and the set pieces are phenomenal. The music is good. It's just the story is just not that solid of a story. It's not fleshed out. Like, I really feel like if they would have put more time into Kenshin and Masao and the Aoshi situation, where Kenshin and Masao talk to each other and then Aoshi shows up or something like that, or the game trying to let Kenshin know that Aoshi's looking out for him versus Sanosuke like, I'm just gonna show up later in the fight, versus him being the one be like, hey man, there's a guy coming after you, I want to help you out. Also, Saito now appearing, you know, for the most part of the movie, like, it shows up at the end and you're like, dude, where you been? Like, why would you at the village helping out? So and then some exposition pieces, like Saito and the police officers was having a tea party and Kenshin shows up and then they're like, oh, here's the map of all the islands, all the places Shishio's taking over, versus when you go to the town that Shishio takes over and have them reveal like this is one of the towns that Shishio takes over and we can't get the government involved because of this, that adds more to it versus, by the way, you went to Shishio's town, but here's what happened here. Like, it was kind of like an afterthought versus it being placed in the right spot. And I feel like the anime and the manga had things set up where it flowed well, so you wasn't like, who's Aoshi and why do I care? Or, oh, Michelle know who Aoshi is? Yeah, she never talked about him, not once. Not once at all. So Sanosuke like, Kenshin, I'm going to Kyoto to fight with you, but I want you to look at me as an equal. That scene's not played out, but everything else, like Kenshin's storyline is solid. His storyline is solid, and the movie is Rurouni Kenshin. It's about that character. Like, it's solid. And I like how the movie add more with Miss Kaoru in it, and her showing up and being the one to see Kenshin defeat Cho, and Kenshin trying to like figure out like he's okay with her being there and stuff like that. I do like that being more of a focal point. I'm curious to see what the third movie is going to be like. But that is my thoughts on Rurouni Kenshin. It is Rurouni Kenshin 2, Kyoto Inferno. It's a C+, 79%. If you've seen Rurouni Kenshin 2, what do you think? Please put in the comment section below on that. See you guys next episode movie breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode movie breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.